Hey everyone and welcome back. I'm Trixks and today I'm actually going to release a holiday special on time for a change. We're starting 2020 off with something sweet for Valentine's Day. Just like that favorite desserts video idea I shared with you guys in my Christmas video the other month, I wanted to try my hand at turning some Valentine's Day sweets into characters. I put the call out on my Twitter for my followers' favorite Valentine's treats, and Chatterless Sai told me about the red velvet cupcakes he likes to have with cream cheese frosting and crushed peppermints on top. They looked too good to pass up, so that was gonna be my first character design. And let's face it, my preferences always default to female character design, so this cupcake was going to turn into a cute girl. Now don't ask me why, but for some reason my cupcake girl quickly became an elf. Hey, we're driving down the imagination road, might as well go all out. So I was thinking of having her hair emulate the cream frosting in some way, so I went with a more carved and defined hairstyle design. Each section of her hair was like a strip of frosting. Rough idea pulled out of my head and onto the canvas so I wouldn't lose it. I then moved on to her outfit, and I loved the idea of replicating the paper cupcake liner as a ruffle heavy shirt or dress. Now, a fun idea in my head, a true pain in the ass for me to execute in my concept. Clothing folds are the devil and they know it. I did some reference digging and came across this nice flowy and very ruffled dress that was a perfect wink at the liner. And with the dress running along off her shoulders, I felt she needed a bit of fun on her neck as it was looking a bit bare around that area. So tying in those crushed peppermints, I gave her a choker with a peppermint candy aesthetic. Once that was done though, I wasn't sure I liked how the initial hair design I came up with would partner with it, so I experimented a little further with a more obvious and simplified updo, and then a bob that curled around her head. I wanted to be sure I tested out my color palette before I moved on to my next girl, and ended up pushing the link between the ruffled dress and cupcake liner even more by making the fabric a bit more on the sheer side. She's certainly a brave and bold elf. That done, it wasn't until I'd finished laying down the red velvet color palette that I ended up settling on how well the bob hair design complemented the whole look. Then for my second sweet elf girl, I did some digging through Google for some popular Valentine's themed chocolates and candies and stumbled across this Lindor strawberries and cream truffles. And their packaging and the appearance of the chocolate itself screamed out as a perfect character opportunity. The shades of pink and reds, hearts, gold trimmings, and lace. It couldn't have been more inspiring if it tried. So I immediately saw the round chocolate truffle shape appearing as a bun on top of her head, along with some subtle strawberry/heart-shaped hints in her braids that led down and around her hair bun. Given the packaging, the outfit style was going to be more regal and upper class with a fair few more details added in compared to the cupcake dress. I'm a sucker for lace, so that white pattern on the packaging was turned into a feature for her shoulders. Also replicating how the pattern itself curls around and under the label as a happy accident. Lined with gold, I incorporated a heart shape into her bust that trailed down and around her corset. I was a bit inspired by Rapunzel's gown, to be honest. It's dress up without being over the top fancy. And to liven up the skirt section more, I took the lace pattern used in the shoulders and adapted it into the front of her dress. A much more regal elf girl indeed. Outfit design down, I quickly made sure I added a sprinkling of freckles to her face, as the idea of replicating the bits of strawberry and the white chocolate coating in this way had me smiling. It was such a cute idea. The color palette came together easy enough, but it took a bit of experimenting till I settled on a hair color for her. Given I'd taken the pale white chocolate for her skin to make the freckles work, using a similar shade for her hair wouldn't. And neither did a darker shade from the red hearts and strawberries featured on the label either. I wasn't sure about having the color match her dress at first, but after staring at it for a while, I finally conceded that nothing else was appealing to me. I wanted to present these sweet girls in a more character establishing setup, so off to DesignDoll I went to create a joint pose for them. Strawberries and cream was to be a bit more demure than the bold and bubbly red velvet, so with a bit of finessing I settled on this pose that would show off both their personalities and their designs in a fair way. Given Red Velvet's simple but ruffled dress, I felt comfortable turning her back to the viewer a bit more in a fair compromise. Not to mention, it would help censor the less family-friendly elements that would have peeked through her dress from the front. With the finished post reference brought into Photoshop, I dived into sketching out my sweet elf girls. I was smitten from the start, I have to admit. These girls came together so well even in sketch form. There are times when I feel more confident in my character design abilities, when I feel myself going gaga over them in sketch form, and even more so when I can't help thinking about drawing them again and again to establish their stories and personalities more. I was picturing Strawberries and Cream as a regal elven noble, almost like a member of a royal family's inner circle. Not quite a princess or queen, but more so along the lines of a handmaiden or close friend. With that in mind, I didn't think the barefoot look would quite suit her, especially considering the style of her dress. So I did a little quick experimenting and settled on a slip-on wedge that connected to bangles around her ankle that would help keep her shoes on while adding a bit more bling. With Red Velvet, she came together rather easily right up until I had to draw her dress again. Again, my references had to come in clutch to make it look somewhat believable. It's always interesting to find the right balance between too many lines and folds and not enough. But I think the final result came together well enough. I have to say, out of the two of them, I love Red Velvet's hairstyle the absolute most. The simplified shape of it and the nice flow around her head and face, it creates appeal to my creative brain like eye candy. Kind of like a well-swirled top of icing on a cupcake it does, actually. So as the more bubbly counterpart to Strawberries, I see Red Velvet as your more down-to-earth elven girl. Someone who likes to try and bring her friend out of her shell every once in a while. She just wants her friend to relax and let loose more, have a girl's day out. The kind of girl that loves to get up to mischief like playing catch and kiss at school. I can tell you now, I was not that kind of girl. I was terrified of the idea of catching and kissing a boy. Chasing, sure, I'm game. The smooching, heck no. I'm sure Strawberries would agree with me in that regard. Heading into the line art stage, I decided I would color the finished layers rather than leave them the standard ink black like I sometimes do, just to help complement the gold trimming I was going to use on Strawberry's dress and the more delicate materials it featured. Not to mention it would better suit the semi-transparent nature of Red Velvet's dress as well. Thanks to the color concepts I did earlier, the coloring stage was pretty smooth sailing for a wee while there, until I realized I hadn't decided on eye colors. But given Strawberry's origins as a chocolate, I decided her eyes could be a nice deep warm brown, adding a striking contrast to her face compared to the paleness of her skin. With Red Velvet, I wasn't too sure as I used up all the colours in her original form already. But then my brain hooked onto the idea of the crushed peppermint candies. Peppermint, a nice pale green blue that would pop against the darkness of her skin as well. The portraits of these two girls alone would be very striking. I love their varying balance of contrast and how very different they appear to each other. With the main color palette established, it took a bit of further finessing to figure out the right type of color treatment the line art would have that would complement the girls while not losing all the definition in their designs. Red Velvet in particular was a bit of a challenge as I could not work out if pale or dark lines worked best. Then with a bit of color adjustments to help my girls pop from the background and a quick simple pass of highlights over them, my Strawberries and Cream and Red Velvet characters were all finished. They're so dang cute. I'm really glad I ended up going through with this character design challenge. I'd be curious to know if you guys had any other Valentine's Day sweets you could imagine as characters. Or perhaps you had a different idea for the ones in today's video. I'd love to see what you guys come up with if you try out the challenge. Feel free to share it with me in the comments below or on any of my social media linked in the video description. I hope you guys have a great Valentine's Day. And to any singles out there thinking it'll be a horrible day, don't let this one day that comes around once a year bum you out. Treat yourself, watch a movie, grab some chocolate and candy, or even organize a day out with friends. Before you know it, the day will be over and the local stores will be stocking up for the next holiday on the calendar. Heaven forbid you start seeing Easter eggs this far out. Thanks for watching everyone. If you liked this video, be sure to tap that like button, share it, or leave a comment below. If you have a couple coins to spare, please consider pledging to my Patreon, which directly funds my channel and art projects in exchange for a range of exclusive rewards. Every little bit helps, and anything is greatly appreciated. Until next time, see ya!